In Creo Parametric, you can create welds in parts and assemblies. As part of the weld creation process, you often do edge preparations, and edge preparations remove material from the model in order to get better penetration of the weld. In this video, we're going to take a look at the setup for the edge preparations. First off, I just want to show that there are a few config.pro options related to this. I'll go to File Options and then Configuration Editor. Let's click on the Find button. And for the keyword, I am going to type in weld_edge. Let's hit the Find Now button. And I will make this dialog box a little bit wider and a little bit longer. Let's make the name column wider as well. And in here, there are 7 different options related to the setup for your edge preparations. And I'm not going to go into this here. Throughout this video, I'm going to be touching on these various different options, but just be aware that these exist and pertain to the setup. Let's close out of here, cancel out of the options dialog box. To get into the welding environment, I will click on Applications, Welding, and I'm doing this in an assembly with 2 different components. To set up your different preferences, you click on the Preferences icon, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at 3 different preferences for your edge preparations, and they're located in the General category. First, we will take a look at the edge preparation driven by, and the choices are part and assembly. We'll take a look at the edge preparation geometry and the options for creating a family table instance. First though, here we are on the General tab, and one of the choices is edge preparation driven by part or assembly, and I will put the corresponding config.pro option on the screen. The default choice is part. And what that means is when you are creating your different edge preparations, you're going to select contact surfaces, and those contact surfaces will end up creating the relevant features in the parts that own those contact surfaces. But if you choose the assembly option, well, the affected models can be different than those that contain the contact surfaces. By the way, there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to cover in this video that really gets into the weeds. I'm going to admit this stuff is not intuitive. It's kind of out there, so that's why we're covering it. Let's cancel out of here and see the effect of that option for the edge prep driven by. To create an edge preparation, you go to the Weld wizard, and that opens up the Weld definition dialog box. There are 3 different kinds of objects you can create in here, and these have rectangular boxes because you can create them all at the same time, or maybe you want to create a weld and a notch. A notch, by the way, is a cut in a separate part that allows you to create a weld that crosses multiple components without interruption. We'll cover those in another video. Let me turn that off. For the weld, well, I'm not going to create a weld, but you can see that there are a number of different kinds of welds. You have your different fillet welds, and you can do your groove welds. Lots of different options inside of here. But again, we are covering edge preparations in this video. And I want to point out that you also have the choice of doing either a single or a symmetrical combination for your different edge preparations. And another thing I want to point out right now is we have 6 different choices available to us. The first one is one side root opening, and then I'm going to jump to the third one. The third one is both sides root opening. The second one here is a bevel groove angle cut. And the fourth one is the V-groove angle cut, which is like having a bevel groove on both sides. And then we have the bevel groove angle cut with a root opening. And we also have the V-groove angle cut with a root opening. you'll notice that all 6 of these icons are available to us. I'm going to come back to the V groove angle cut with root opening in a moment. Let's go to the symmetrical option. We have 4 different choices inside of here. We can do the double bevel groove angle cut, or you can do the double V groove angle cut, and we also have the double bevel groove angle cut with a root opening and the double V groove angle cut with the root opening. What I'm pointing out here is the fact that all 4 of these options are available when you have that edge prep driven by set to part. In a moment, I'm going to come back, I'm going to change the option to assembly. You'll see that a bunch of these are grayed out. 2 of these will be grayed out. Similarly, when you have the combination set to single, 3 of these options, 2 or 3 of these options will be grayed out. But anyhow, I'm going to show you how to create a V-groove angle cut with a root opening. And the reason I'm doing this one is that there are 3 different dimensions available here. We have the preparation angle, which has a default value of 45 degrees. We have the preparation depth with a value of 0.25, and we have the root opening with a value of 0.25. Remember at the beginning of the video when I mentioned that there were 7 different configuration options? Well, 3 of those configuration options pertain to these different dimensional values. And so those are the weld edge prep groove angle, the weld edge prep groove depth, and also the weld edge prep root opening. So those are 3 config options pertaining to the setup for your edge preparations. So anyhow, let's say that we decide that we want to create this. Let's click the OK button. And now we're going to get something called the model dialog box. And this is the old interface for Pro Engineer back in 2001 and earlier. Let me make this dialog box a little bit wider. Up at the top, you have elements, and they'll have a status. Then you have action buttons down at the bottom. Some of these elements are optional, some are required. You'll notice right now it is prompting me to select the contact surfaces. I'm going to make the message area a little bit longer over here because when you had these old model dialog boxes, you really had to pay a lot of attention to what it was telling you in the message area. But I'm going to tell you, for the edge preps, it's really kind of confusing. Even with the message area, it's not that helpful. So right now, it is telling me to select a contact surface to offset for the root opening and the angle measurement. I will select this particular surface and then click the OK button. And now we're prompted to select contact surfaces to offset for root opening and or angle measurement. So that's the appropriate contact surface on the other component. So I will select it and then click the OK button. So now those are defined. The weird thing is I would expect normally you would hold down the control key and pick both of them. When I see the same message right after each other, I sort of think, hey, I must have done something wrong. Nope, it is just not intuitive in terms of the workflow. But anyhow, now it's highlighting a bunch of edges from the first contact surface, and I'm prompted to select the first set of edges to be prepared for the highlighted contact surfaces of, and this is the part that I had picked. And so I will pick this top edge for where I want to have that V groove. And then let's click OK and then done. And now we're prompted to select the first set of edges to be prepared for the highlighted contact surfaces of, and now it's got the other part highlighted. So I will pick this particular edge and then OK and done. And everything has been set up in here. Let's click the OK button. And so we have our edge preparation created in these parts. The weld definition dialog box stays open so you can easily jump into creating another edge prep or a weld and or a notch, but I'm going to cancel out of here. Let me select a surface and then view normal to it, just so you can zoom in and see the geometry that results from that V groove angle cut with the root opening here. If you take a look in the model tree, we have an assembly level feature for the edge preparation, but also if you take a look in each of the individual components, we end up with features for the root opening and the opening angle. Now you're going to get these features at the part level regardless of whether that option for edge prep driven by is set to part or assembly. That's a bit confusing. Again, not intuitive, doesn't make sense, but it just determines how you're going to select the affected models for the edge preparation. Now, what's also interesting, take a look at how the edge prep is created along both of these two parts. I'm going to select the edge prep and then delete it. Let's click the OK button. And now let's take a look at changing the preference. I'll go to Preferences, then we'll go to the General category, and I'm going to change Edge Preparation Driven By from Part to Assembly. Let's click the OK button. And now let's go back to the Weld Wizard. It is still set to Edge Prep, but if you take a look at the available options, 3 of these are grayed out. I can't do a bevel groove angle cut. I can't do the V groove angle cut. And I also cannot do the V groove angle cut. Actually, is that selected? I can't tell. Yeah, that one I can do, but 2 of these are grayed out. If we change the combination from single to symmetrical, you'll notice that we have the double bevel groove angle cut grayed out, as well as the double V groove angle cut grayed out, but I can do the double bevel groove angle cut with root opening, as well as the double V groove angle cut with root opening. So that's one thing to be aware of, changing that preference to assembly. You don't have the full set of edge preparations available to you. Let's go back to single and let's choose that, man, this is a mouthful, a V groove angle cut with root opening with the same dimensions as before. Let's click the OK button, and we have to pick the first contact surface, click the OK button, and then, oops, let's see here, select the affected models. Well, in this particular case, I will select this model, hold down the Control key and select this other model. So I only picked 1 contact surface that time as opposed to 2 contact surfaces the previous time. With the 2 models selected, let's click the OK button, and then it says all elements have been defined, so I'll try clicking the OK button. Well, I do that and it comes back and says, okay, wait, we need to know some edge information. So right now it looks like it put in the root opening. If you take a look in the model tree, you can see the root opening cut features in both of the parts, but now it's trying to put in the V groove. So it's highlighting one of the parts and saying, hey, select an edge you want to use. I will select the edge. I'm just going to use the middle mouse button to do the OK and the done. And now for the other part, let's select this edge and middle mouse button a couple times, and then middle mouse button one more time. And so that put the V groove in there. Let me cancel out of the weld definition. Let's select the surface that we want to view perpendicular to. And so you can see we have a bit of a different situation this time, where it used the single contact surface from the first part selected to determine the extent of the edge preparation in the affected model. So you can see that we did end up with a bit of a different situation. So that's one other thing to consider about that particular preference. Okay, anyhow, let's go back to the preferences, click on General. Let's change the edge preparation driven by back to part. The next one that we'll take a look at, and this one will be a lot quicker than what we just looked at, the edge preparation geometry. By default, it is set to light, I believe, and I have it set to solid. Let's take a look at what happens if we change this to light, and be aware that I don't believe there's an actual config.pro option corresponding to this one, but let's click the OK button. Let's delete. In this particular situation, we got two different edge prep features. Let me delete one of them. Actually, I want to delete both of them, but let's delete them, and now we're back to where we were. Let's take a look at creating another edge preparation. This one I'll do a much simpler one. Let's just choose in this particular case that we are going to do a both sides root opening. We're only going to have one dimensional value. Let's click the OK button. And in this particular situation, we don't have to pick any contact surfaces. It just wants to know the dimension attachment. So for the dimension attachment, I will pick this particular surface, click the OK button, and OK. And it created our edge preparation feature. Let's cancel out of the Weld definition dialog box. You'll notice that our root opening cut ID only exists in the part that has the surface that I selected. So when you have that light option, it's not actually removing any geometry. You can see that even though I specified that we're supposed to have a root opening with a thickness of 0.25, no geometry was actually removed because of that light option. If I open up this part in its own separate window, here you can see the root opening cut ID. If I change to a wireframe mode, well, it's not like you see any internal surfaces or any quilts in there. And as a matter of fact, here I created a quilt that was the exact same size as the original body. If I make that one visible, hey, you can see that it is the same size as the body. If I hide the body, yeah, they're the same size. So there's no other additional supplemental geometry that ended up being created in here because this was set to light. All right, let's go back to a shading with edges mode. Let's close and go back to the assembly that we were working on. And let's delete the edge preparation feature. So that one was a lot easier to explain than the first option. Let's click OK out of there. Let's go back to our preferences, go to general, and I'm going to change the edge preparation geometry to solid. The next option that we're going to take a look at is whether you want to create a family table for the edge preparation. And so again, when we create these different edge preparations, we're going to get both assembly level features and part level features for the parts that own the contact surfaces or selected surfaces for the dimensions. We're going to end up with part level features, and you might use these parts in other different assemblies, and you don't want geometry removed, or you don't want those edge preparation part level features winding up in the individual original parts. So instead, you might want to create a family table instance. You probably don't want to create a family table instance, but hey, the choice is yours. Here we have the checkbox to create a family table instance, and that corresponds to the config.pro option Weld Edge Prep Instance. The default value is no, that's why it was unchecked, but you could change the config.pro option to yes, or you could check this box in the individual model. Next, we have the new instance name format. So by default, it's going to append this _no EP _no edge preparation to the name of the family table instance, because it assumes that you want to create the edge preparation and weld feature in the generic model. You also have the choice to create it in the instance model. If you want to use a config.pro option to control this, this one is Weld Edge Prep Visibility. I'll choose that one. And if we are having the edge preparation being placed in the instance and not the generic, Well, I probably want to use a different name format. I want to have underscore EP for underscore edge preparation for the instance, since that will have the edge preparation and weld features. If you want to use a different name format instead of that default value of underscore no EP, well, you can use the config.pro option, weld edge prep name suffix. So let's take a look at the result of setting these different options. I will click the OK button. Okay, anyhow, let's try making our new weld feature. I will go to the weld wizard. Let's make our edge preparation, and let's choose, let's do the nice fancy one, and click the OK button. And watch what happens as soon as I click OK. We end up in an assembly level family table instance. You can see that we have underscore EP at the top for the name. Also, if you take a look at the top node of the model tree, we are in the family table instance. Here you can see the family table generic in brackets. Hey, for our contact surfaces, let's do like we were doing before. Let's select that surface, hold down the control key and select this surface. Oh wait, no, we don't want to select both of them. Again, it's really weird. You would expect to pick both surfaces using the control key, as I tried to do. And then for the edge sets, let's select this edge, and then I will OK and middle mouse button, and then this edge, OK, and done with the middle mouse button. And all elements have been defined. You can click OK or the middle mouse button. So there we have the edge preparations created. Let me cancel out of the weld definition dialog box. So that took me back to my generic, which is the one that doesn't have the edge preparations. You can see that at the assembly level, the edge preparation is suppressed. And here you can see we have the part level root opening and opening angle features for the edge preparation. Those are also suppressed. If I close out of the welding application, then I can go to family table, and you can see here we have the instance that contains the edge preparation. We can open it, and so there you can see the individual family table instances, and similarly I can right click and choose open, and here is the family table instance. You can see the name down at the bottom. You can see the name in the model tree, as well as the name of the generic. So again, that is the effect of turning on those different family table options. All right, let's go back to our assembly that we were using. So there you have it, those three different options for your edge preparation at the assembly level. Again, you get to it by preferences and then going to general, and here we have the edge preparation geometry, edge preparation driven by, and the family table options. Let's say I like these different settings and I want to be able to use them over and over again. Hey, we can choose the not the open button, let me cancel out there. We can choose the save button, and I can save this as a weld preferences file on my computer. And for the file name, maybe I will call this my general edge prep file, and let's choose the export button. And so that way I can always go to open, and it goes to my weld parameters folder, and it's got my various different weld preferences files available here. Let me cancel out and cancel out once more. Also, you can go to File Options and set the corresponding config.pro option that will automatically load that preferences file on retrieval. Let's click the Find button. And again, the one for this one is weld underscore, let me type in general instead. Covered that in the first video. And here we have the weld general preferences file. I can click the Browse button, and let me go to where that file is. Let's go to C, Creo, Weld, and here is the file that I just created. Let's choose Open, and then add change, and I can close out of the find option dialog box. Then I can click the OK button to get out of the options. Hey, do I want to save this so it will be retrieved automatically? Let's click the yes button, and I can save my config.pro file in its standard location. So that's how you can save the preferences file and then set your config.pro option in order to point to it. Wow, all that just on the setup for edge preferences. I know it's a lot there, not exactly intuitive, but hopefully this starts pointing you in the right direction. I hope you enjoyed this video. For more information, please visit www.creowindchill.com. If you learned something from this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like this video, please click the subscribe button and ring the bell to be informed when new videos are uploaded. Thank you very much.